Okay. Hi there.
Hello.
Weber of Wendy Weber Music and Energetic Healing. So, whoop. That's from the very first song on my CD, Wendy Weber Music, presenting Journeys. And I am here today to kind of lighten everything up. And I am here to interview Lisa Schaefer, the founder of crowdpublished.tv. Why is that? Because I want to know stuff. All right. And I don't want to know all the geeky stuff. I have a song about that. Don't talk geek to me. It sounds like Greek to me. And then it goes into tech and acronyms and all the stuff.
Oh, okay, listen, I won't give you any acronyms.
No. You've got to use English.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. I'll do that.
So this is the very first show of the Wendy Show. And the basic theme is way to wellness. And there's lots of ways to wellness. One of which is discovering interesting things. Another is laughing. Another is healing techniques. But you've heard laughter is the best medicine. So we're going to keep it light here to have some fun. Lisa Schaefer, let me ask you first, where did you come from? Where were you born?
Oh, I was born in Green Bay.
Oh, home of the Packers.
That's right. We're a city-owned football team, but I am not a football fan.
I'm not either, but when I was at Wisconsin, it was the Bears. I'm from Chicago. The Bears versus the Packers. That was dangerous.
I can imagine. Yeah, I stayed away from that. Yeah.
And where'd you go from there?
So I lived on a farm for almost 12 years. Yeah, it was, and the best thing that my parents ever did for me was move me to Phoenix before I started high school.
All right.
And well, one thing that was really good about growing up in Phoenix or going to high school in Phoenix was that in the 80s, if you graduated in the top 5% of your high school class, you got 4 years free tuition with the Regent Scholarship as long as you kept up your GPA. And although tuition was super, super cheap back in the 80s, ASU, I think, was the cheapest, the least expensive university in the whole nation alongside University of Texas. It has changed since then. Tuition has gone up quite a lot at Arizona State, but it's still a lot less expensive than many other in-state tuitions.
And what'd you major in?
My undergrad was civil engineering, and so was my master's degree. My area of emphasis for master's was transportation, and I did a lot of traffic simulation. So it was a lot of computer modeling, logic, mathematical analysis, and statistics. And so then I got all three of my degrees from Arizona State. My PhD is in industrial systems engineering, and that's where I did operations research, which was even more mathematical modeling and simulations of more than just the traffic systems.
So the traffic systems, that's what, when we miss the light or they're too long or too short, that's the kind of stuff you worked on?
Well, we would put into the simulations. There was a simulation software that I worked on at the Federal Highway Administration that you could put in a traffic light and a road segment and a number of lanes, and that was called like microscopic simulation because it was very detailed. Then I also worked on other simulations that were just a little bit higher level, where it was just, this is how many cars per hour or per day, and then mathematical analysis based on that. So depending upon what you were looking for. And I wasn't even doing the analysis so much. I was actually working on the software, although I was analyzing for bugs and the statistics of traffic simulation software. then when I went into my PhD, I worked on simulations of more general systems, and it was called discrete event simulation, where you'd have all these objects that were kind of like cars, and they'd have certain rules in them that you could program in, or they just went into a system. So they'd go into a system, they'd wait in a line, and then they'd be in the system for a certain amount of time, then they'd come out to the next process. And so a lot of that was manufacturing processes. One summer I worked at McDonnell Douglas. It was the summer they were bought by Boeing, and I was doing a simulation analysis of a helicopter blade cell, and so I would model each of the helicopter blades going through, and we would actually put them in batches because you needed 5 blades per helicopter. So each order had 5, or each helicopter had five blades. So they would pretty much go through together as groups of 5s. And so we'd analyze them as batches of 5 going through the system. So I was doing a lot of that kind of like mathematical analysis of different processes.
That's actually interesting, because most of us don't know what goes on behind the curtain, so to speak, for all that stuff. And that's about as much as I will understand. But thank you for putting it in English language.
Great.
Tell me, what, if anything, did you miss when you left the farm?
Not much. The kittens and my grandma. Really, I missed my grandma the most. Because we lived about a third of a mile or so from my grandma. And in the summer, we would go down to her house every day. We'd wake up, we'd have breakfast, we'd walk to grandma's house. And then we'd play with the kittens in the barn. We'd play with the dolls and climb the trees and, and play with the dog. We could pick dandelion heads and give them to the cows. The cows were very sloppy. We were not allowed in the barn while they were milking. So I was 11 when we moved to Phoenix. So we were too little to be in the barn. But I mean, for the most part, I was really, really excited to move to Phoenix. I had an aunt and some cousins in Phoenix, and I didn't mind a little bit of snow in the winter to play in, but I really minded gross slush all spring.
I'm from Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got sick of the snow, but I got used to warm weather very quickly. And it was just, I mean, the most fascinating thing to me when we moved, we lived in an apartment complex near 35th Avenue in Northern, and the apartment complex is still there, but we could, from our window, in the kitchen window, we could look out and we could see a traffic light. And that was just amazing, because the small town near the farm where we lived didn't have any traffic lights. So I was like, wow, a traffic light. And I can see it from our apartment.
Oh, exciting.
Another thing that was really amazing to me when we first moved was elevators and escalators. Like, we would just want to ride the elevators and the escalators all day at the mall. It's like, let's just go up and down the escalators. It was like, wow, escalators. This is really awesome.
Like a ride, yeah?
Like a ride, exactly.
I'm really trying to get the nitty gritty on you. Wow. That's the difference between where both of us came from. But I'm a city gal and not a farm gal. But still moving out here, it's been over 40 years for me now, but it's living out here is a whole different things, from a sophisticated city to a small town like sprawling area. And I have watched a lot of it grow up. So that's been fun for me. Of course, the traffic, not so much, but it's still better than Chicago.
Oh, yeah. And I lived in Washington, D.C. or the Washington, D.C. suburbs for almost 16 years. And it was very, it was very uncomfortable, almost painful to go anywhere. You had to really plan your day out around going places. I lived near a metro station. The traffic was bad, but if I could get to some place on a metro, that was definitely the preferred method of travel. We have a car that we bought in April 2001. It was new, and we still have it. It has 73,000 miles on it. That was our only car when we lived in DC.
73,000. I ended up with mine over 100 and something thousand.
Yeah, and we've had the car for 18 years, so.
Yeah. So I would have thought there'd be more mileage on it.
Yeah. Well, and that was even our only car for the first year back in Phoenix. We bought a new car last year, and that we've used quite a bit more because we drove to Colorado and we've been back and forth to California.
Safer. Yeah. This is a public service announcement. This guy is wanted. I don't know if you can see this guy. Can we make me be bigger on the screen? How do I do that?
I think just, because the focus, you're gonna have a problem with the focus. The only thing you can do is just get it closer to the camera.
All right. So I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to look. So this guy is wanted. He is called Lucky Destructo Conyer. Here's another view of him and what he does. Can you see him? And he's wanted for chewing up my baseboard. So this is a announcement. Keep an eye out for this guy. So he doesn't chew up yours or chew up mine more.
Chew up yours. My mom has a conure, but it's green.
Back to our regularly scheduled. Your mom has a conure?
Yeah, his name is Pepito, and he's about 16 years old, I think.
That's pretty good for a conure, although they supposedly live for up to 30 years, maybe more. I had one that didn't because she kept getting sick. But what kind of a conure?
Green. I don't remember what more specifically than that.
There's a number of varieties. I've got the really bright one.
That one's pretty.
Yeah, he's pretty. He's being quiet right now. Maybe he knows that he's on a wanted poster here. Yeah. Well, you've heard Lucky in the background.
Oh, I have heard Lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you like to have fun because I have sung karaoke with you.
Oh, karaoke is fun.
Karaoke is fun. What was behind and when did you first have the idea for crowdpublish.tv?
That's a really unclear. I mean, the answer for that is super unclear. So sometimes I tell people that I started developing crowd-published TV 40 years ago because, when I started learning some basic computer programming on a computer that my dad had, because he was running an electronic business on the side of doing farming with my grandpa. So he was taking a computer programming course at the local community college, and I say local, that means about 30 miles away because we live on a farm. So he had this book, and I would just start typing out the code in the back of the book, and then he taught me that you don't have to just type what's in the book. You can make up your own stuff. So I started making up a little bit of my own stuff. Didn't really do much besides print and then do some calculations. But and it was like printing snow falling. But then, because of the way it would scroll it, the snow would start falling up. But anyway, so there were a few milestones with crowd-published TV. I mean, when I was 5, I wanted to write a book, and so I would draw like little, because I thought that children's books meant that it was written by children, and so when I found out that they were written by adults, I was really disappointed in these adults because I thought this is what you're writing and you're too old for that. You should be able to come up with something a little bit smarter than this.
Oh, I love
that. By the time you're 30, So I was writing these books like when I was 5 because I could already read, and I draw some pictures, and I wasn't really great at drawing pictures. But anyway, so I'm getting a phone call that I need to probably hang up on, so it stops. Oh no, no, I can't call that. I can't. Anyway, I don't know if you were able to hear that phone ringing. I had to turn it off. Anyway, so Yeah, so then, learning computer programming, interested in writing books. So the first, and then live streaming. The first time I saw live streaming was in 2008, and and I thought, this is really fascinating. This is like interactive TV, and I really thought that it would have picked up a lot more by now. It wasn't until like last year that people started doing live streaming on Facebook, and that's about when it started becoming sort of mainstream. And then back in
It's easier to do. I think that's one reason why it got picked up. It's
yeah,
easier to me.
well,
A non-
yeah. So back in 2011, I was in a meeting where Biz Stone was speaking, and he's the founder of Twitter. And all I could think of while he was speaking was, Twitter is so lame. I can come up with something better than that. so that's that is when I decided to learn web development. I mean, as an engineer, I was doing a lot of computer programming and a mathematical analysis, but web development is a completely different type of programming than line by line analyzing some math. It's more asynchronous. The computer program executes here, but then how does it link with a web page that you can see? How does it link with a database? How does clicking a button affect what the website does or what the code does? And so I had to learn all of that. That part was completely new to me. Not completely. I did a little bit in grad school with the user interface and the buttons and things like that and the database. But it's very different than it was back when I was in grad school in the late 90s. So I had to learn about how to program a website. My first idea, even before I knew what language I needed to learn, was that I wanted to make something for independent book authors, because I was in a couple of writers' critique groups, and I thought that they shouldn't have to deal with publishers. And because those who did deal with publishers, it was not to anybody's. I mean, the publishers didn't know what they were doing, and the authors were being taken advantage of, and the publishers really weren't doing any service for the authors. So I thought I wanted to get rid of that middleman and do some kind of a web platform for that. And then from there, I mean, so for a while I was getting indie authors and readers to sign up, and I have a lot of people sign up. But part of the problem I was having with that audience was that a lot of the indie authors refused to learn how to use the internet, or some of them wouldn't even use a computer at all, and they would type their whole manuscripts by typewriter. And I thought, what's wrong with you? Look, you cannot edit like that. So anyway, so that was a terrible audience for early adopters of a platform. And my long-term vision is to have this be like a cocktail party where you drop into one conversation and they're talking about something you're interested in, whether it's a book or inspired by a book or some environmental issues. There might be an author there, but it might just be some professionals there who are knowledgeable in that topic. And then when that conversation dwindles down, you can go on to the next conversation at that cocktail party and listen to them talk about some religious issue or some Bible study. And then the next one will be some, maybe about women's issues. Anyway, all sorts of different, all sorts of different intellectual topics, and go from conversation to conversation. But the difference is that you're not at a cocktail party. One of the people you're talking to is in Tokyo, and somebody else is in New York City, and somebody else is in Denmark. And but it feels like you're all in the same
world.
Yeah, right. The same world, the same virtual world, or the same cocktail party, or the same conference even. So that's the long-term vision, and what we're doing here is kind of creating a few cocktail conversations and trying to get some regulars who keep coming back, who will eventually lead those conversations and bring in their colleagues to participate and have build a community around those topics.
Well, this is more than I have ever known about you, about this. I don't think any of us have ever heard the path that you have taken. And I'm going to do a quick commercial. So I do have an offer. I don't know if you saw. I put in an offer, but I'm offering a free, not a free, it's paid, but not a lot of money, wellness session. So where did I write it out? Well, it's on the side. I put it in there, and it's really an opportunity to have a discussion with me about what your way to wellness. There's something going on with you that you need to clear up, feel better about, and what I do can help in just about every area of your life. So that's why I call this the way to wellness discussion session. So it's I didn't type it out because I'm still figuring this stuff out.
But it's in the sidebar. If you look at Wendy's page on crowdpublish.tv, it's in her sidebar.
It's in the sidebar. But I have a disclaimer. Warning, this offer may result in feeling great, more productivity, more smiles, more laughing, more income, greater relationships, a general feeling of wonderfulness, and just plain more fun. Watch out for that. All right.
And you've done a lot of training in this wellness healing, haven't you?
I have. We'll do an about face at some time, and you can, or somebody can interview me. Either that, or I'll interview myself and just change hats. But that's another day. But yes, I have. I've done it for over 5 years now, and the difference in my life, it has been miraculous. A part of that is I have a CD out. I keep writing. I write more songs than ever. I have more nutty ideas than ever. If it makes me laugh, it'll make somebody else laugh. They say laughter is the best medicine. And people say that to me, you remind me of Carol Burnett. And that is a very great compliment. I'm watching her half-hour shows right now, and they're so funny. They're doing Tim Conway was a right, but they were so funny, and I like to do shtick. So that's why I'm going to do some on this show. I'm going to break it up because.
And Carol Burnett was live too. That was the awesome part about Carol Burnett. She was live.
Say that she was live, and she was very spontaneous. And the funniest thing was, especially later on with Tim Conway, how fast could they get Harvey Korman to laugh, right? Right in the middle of the sketch. Yeah. And we were all in on it, we were all in on it. So it was really fun. That's one of the things I like doing. I want to make people laugh in the middle of learning cool stuff. I'm learning way cool stuff about you. Thank you so much for playing along. And
playing along.
And we have these wanted posters. Unlucky. Did you hear a peep out of him?
No.
There's the kitchen right next door.
How do I know he's still there? Maybe he's asleep.
We scared him with this. I may have to do that more often. But this is really great fun to me. And I want other people to start tuning in to crowdpublish.tv, maybe have your own show, or I don't know who I'm going to interview next week. And I will ask a few people. If the first one, there's always going to be somebody. People said, what's your niche? Well, my niche for interviewing is anybody, because reason I'm a good interviewer, I stay in curiosity. I want to know about you, and I had a great time learning about you.
Thanks.
For not coding in front of me. That yeah. I would have to sing that whole song. So is there anything else that you would have liked me to have asked you that I didn't ask?
Oh gosh, you know what? I probably should have thought of a list of questions, and I just kind of felt like, I'm just going to go into a conversation.
We'll do it again.
Yeah. So
not forever.
Right. Oh yeah, we'll probably do this again sometime soon. Let's see. Anything else that somebody needs to ask? I think that kind of. I at least told everybody sort of like the long-term vision of what this is, and we'll see if we get there in 20 or 30 years. I may need to invent the technology to feel like you're in the cocktail party together, but I predict that somebody else is going to come up with that first, and so I don't need to worry about that part. But yeah, we're creating community right now with different topics and seeing what's popular. Next week we're going to do some phone interviews with some people regarding topics on faith, on music, and on small business, and we're going to try to figure out like at least who the local thought leaders might be in the Phoenix area, so that we can start building a group of regulars every three times a week to drop in and participate.
That'd be awesome. I come in when I can. I would have been in earlier, but I was still getting ready for this.
Oh yeah.
This is great fun. So I'm gonna, a la Carol Burnett, I do have closing. And I have my ukulele here, one of them. I have five ukuleles. Thank God I don't have to marry them off like Tevye did in Fiddler. So that's a lot easier for me. So last night I was at North Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, and I did 2 different tunes for this song, from songs on my CD, and I said, I need some help. Which one do you like better? And they voted for the second one. This is the reason, and I won't go into this every time, but this song is called The Winds of Change, and it's about moving my mom from, and how it felt, really, moving my mother from Chicago to Phoenix. It was in 2014, and it took her 2 years to thank me for doing it afterwards. But I found out I'm not the only one, that some people never thank their kids for doing what they needed to do. So this is Winds of Change. This has been a ball right from the start. I'm glad that you all are here to take part. Fun to use kazoo and not a drum and fife. Wishing a joyous melody in your heart and harmony in your life. Thanks, everybody. Bye. Thank you so much, Luther. It's been a great joy to interview you, and thanks for allowing this platform that we can do it.
You're welcome. We'll do it again.
All right. Yeah. How do I turn it off then?
Oh, let's see. I can actually turn it off. I just click stop live stream, and